I have about 15 years of communications experience. I started my career in high-tech PR in Seattle. I'm originally from Seattle, and so I have a lot of corporate experience doing communications, media relations, a lot of writing, presenting. I've done some executive coaching and media training. I also worked in the wine industry. Bless you. So if anybody has any questions about food pairing, I can help you with that. I'm currently the director of marketing for Lingo Live, and as Mike said, we work with a lot of engineers. And most importantly, I'm a coach. So I have a couple learners, we call them learners, and one of them is currently an individual contributor at a software company and kind of working his way towards being a manager. So that's one of the really rewarding parts of my day-to-day, actually, is the work I do with learners. I taught ESL in New York City at the American Language Communication Center. I've also taught English in South Korea to middle school girls, high school girls, and some business English, which was actually amazing. I was born in South Korea, but I was adopted as a very tiny, carryable baby. So I actually wasn't raised in Asian culture, but it was an interesting experience to go back and sort of see what things would have been like if I had, and also to see the difference, right? Because I was raised in the States, and I know that there's just a huge culture difference in terms of like feeling comfortable about doing things like self-advocating and self-promoting. So I sort of consider myself fortunate to have been raised in the United States, where I was always encouraged by my very liberal mother to speak up for myself and to really go for whatever it was that I wanted to do. I also have 3 older brothers, which was a torturous childhood, but it makes you really comfortable with sticking up for yourself, because if you don't reach first to grab the dinner, right, then your 3 brothers eat it all, right? Or, like whenever we had snacks, my brothers would just take a lot of it because they were bigger than me and faster than me. So I had sort of a really interesting childhood that led me to where I'm standing right now. A little bit nervous. Okay, so to go back to self-advocacy, right? So self-advocacy it's promoting an idea. It's promoting yourself. It's really like standing up for your ideas. The thing that I really like to emphasize about self-advocacy is what it's not first, right? So I'm actually hoping that none of you have had this experience at work, but self-advocacy is not about having to defend your work, right? It's not about having to justify what you're doing in your job. It's not the same as being selfish, right? It's actually, so it's not being selfish, it's not being a team player, and it's certainly not climbing over other people to get ahead, right? So self-advocacy is promoting your ideas in a way that will actually help your team, right? So if everybody's a stronger individual contributor, if everybody's able to express their own ideas very well, then that actually does help the team. And I really like to make that distinction, because I think a lot of people think marketing and promotion is kind of a selfish thing, and actually it's not, because sort of that whole like weakest link, right? So you want to make all of your weakest links much stronger, and it makes the team work better. So that's my little name there. So now that's what self-advocacy isn't, right? Selfish, one-sided, whatever. So self-advocacy is really the act of like, you are your own cause, right? So if you have an idea that you think is going to really help your team, whether it's going against the grain, right? Or like, keeping in flow with what's happening, it's being able to feel confident in presenting your ideas, whether it's to your manager in a one-on-one or whether it's within the team environment, right? And again, this is really all working towards a greater, stronger team. So, but you are the cause, right? So you come up with an idea, you really like to present it to your team. And by the way, self-advocacy also goes outside of work. Like, we're talking about it within the work environment, but I don't know if anyone's in a serious relationship. Sometimes you have to like express your ideas and sort of back up your desires, right? Even in a friendship, right? Like maybe you want to go to Brazil, but your friend wants to go to Cape Town, right? Like you have to sort of navigate that as well. So self-advocacy is like speaking up on your own behalf and pleading your case, right? So it's not just saying, hey, I have this idea, I think we should do it, right? It's like building the case, and it's like building a pitch that is going to be very acceptable and very reasonable to present to the right audience, okay? And so we're actually going to go through an exercise to help you build your pitch regardless of what it is. So you actually might want to sort of in the back of your head be thinking about something that you want to advocate for at work, right? Like maybe it's a vacation, maybe you feel like you really deserve to go away to Maui for 2 weeks, and how can you present that to your manager and your team in a way that's going to, everybody's going to feel like you're getting like the same benefit, right? Maybe it's like working from home, right? Maybe you want to work from home on Mondays and Fridays, and you know your manager is going to push back and say, well, that's not really possible, you have to be here. So it's presenting any sort of thing, right? Okay? And then just in general, speaking up for yourself. So if you didn't grow up in a household where you had 3 older brothers beating you up all the time, maybe you need some extra practice and just feeling comfortable presenting your own ideas and like standing up for yourself. So my very limited experience living in South Korea was that just observing it's not always very comfortable or natural in Asian culture to stand up for yourself or to like bring attention to yourself, right? So there's a lot of like the American workplace, as I'm sure you all know, it's different, right? It can be very, it can seem kind of aggressive. It can seem very too self-promoting, right? But in English we have that expression, squeaky wheel gets the grease. Have you guys ever heard that? It's like very, very, very true, right? So for some people it's not necessarily natural to raise your hand or to like volunteer something. So self-advocacy is just practice doing that. And the more that you do something, practice makes perfect, right? But practice also makes permanent. So we want to make sure that you're learning how to set up your pitch and how to advocate for yourself in the right way, right? Okay. So somebody told me that it's really good to ask questions in a presentation. That person's back there in the room. So can anybody give me any examples of things that you've had to advocate for in like on your team or in a work situation? This is really just a test to see if you are awake. Anyone? Yeah.
All right. So I can give some examples of the advantage of self-advocacy.
Yeah.
I was a project marketing manager for high-tech companies.
Okay.
And later I became the realtor. And now everybody knows that's a wall, winning wall.
Yep.
So how to win the offer to be accepted.
Yep.
That's very important. So I deal with so because of my background, so it makes it easy for me to negotiate with these agents.
Yep.
And because most basic agents are, Americans, and so they are looking for something buying agents to communicate well.
Yep.
And so my advantage is that I can communicate with them well, and most of the time they would like to help me. So they tell me, the price, how high could it go. So that is very important.
Yes. Negotiation is a huge part of self-advocacy,
And
right?
communication helps.
Yep. That's great. It's a perfect.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. There are no bad ideas or bad situations, right? So, yeah.
Could this be like if you want to get a promotion or something like that too?
Sure. That's actually a great example. Getting a promotion, like what do you have to do to get a promotion? You have to, first of all, bring up the idea, and then second of all, come up with the supportive materials. So yeah, and then you have to be able to present that to your boss or to your manager or to whoever makes that decision. Yeah, that's a great example.
My company actually just had a hackathon event where everybody presents their own idea and then promotes their idea and then recruit team members.
Yep. That's great. That's a perfect example of it, right? What about you?
Recently went to get a driving license,
Oh yeah?
and when I got to the DMV's office, I was told that I need to have a person who's accompanying me, who is a California licensed driver over the age of 25.
Okay.
I already had a driving license from my own home country, and I had to argue with a DMV representative, proving to him that I could come in on my own and do the driving test as per the California Driver Handbook.
Yep.
And it took me at least 5 minutes to get my behind the wheel test.
And do you have a license now?
I do have a license now. Yes.
If anybody needs
Yeah.
a ride home, he's got a car.
Yeah.
But at first, he rejected me straight away.
Yep.
And then I managed to convince him to call his supervisor, which he did. And then she said, yeah, I can go ahead and take the test.
That's great. That's really great. So one thing I actually would like to point out is like, there are words, right, that people associate with certain feelings. The word argue is generally not a word that people think of as being nice, right? You don't get into arguments with friends. Or if you do, it's sort of pitting each other or against each other, right? So the word that I would use for you is actually not arguing with someone, but having to like justify or to validate maybe your discussion or your, what's the word I'm looking for? What's that?
Your point, your argument.
Yeah, your point, right? Yeah, you want to support your points. And I know that that's actually kind of a silly thing to bring up, but language is really, really important, right? And that's what makes learning a language so difficult, right? It's not just a translation from one to I'm so not picking on you, please. No, but it is. Self-advocacy isn't arguing. It's actually just validating and supporting your point, right? Supporting your, whatever it is that you're trying to advocate for. So, but great. Seriously, that's awesome. Okay. So in the work environment, so that's obviously a great example of non-work, thank you. But in the work environment, self-advocacy can look like things like proposing a new project, right? It can be speaking up in meetings, right? So how many of you feel really comfortable going and raising your hand in every single team meeting that you're in? Nice. You? What about the rest of you? Yeah? So for the people who don't feel comfortable raising their hand or bringing up ideas in team meetings, what's stopping you?
I have a lot of strong personalities on my team.
Okay.
So even though I don't think of myself as shy, they are just very overwhelming.
Okay.
I was going to say confidence in your answer and your argument.
Okay. Those are both, by the way, very, very, very real, very common.
I was worried about my English.
Okay. What are you worried about? You're speaking. Yeah, that's legitimate, right? By the way, that's actually what we do. This isn't a plug for the company, but we do a lot of work with people making sure that they have the right language so that they feel confident, right? So they're sort of building blocks, right? If you're not confident in your language, then you won't be confident and you'll be less likely to go up against like the people who are super loud and aggressive on your team, right? So that makes sense. So, like Tracy suggested as well, a promotion, right? These are things that you advocate for, like maybe you're an individual contributor and you want to be a lead. Maybe you want to go to Maui for 2 weeks. I bring that up because I did it. It was great. In fact, by the way, I forgot to mention this. This is actually not my material. We have another coach named Nia. She's fantastic. She actually did this content, and I took the class from her. I have a really strong personality, and some people think that I'm a little bit too strong at times, but it was great to take her course because she basically helped me take my very strong personality and make sure that I was presenting it in a way that wouldn't be offensive or that would sort of make sense, right? So I forgot to give her credit at the beginning of the thing, but so she actually helped me put together a supportive argument, for going to Maui for 2 weeks, right? By the way, the water's great there. I recommend it. So a promotion or a raise or a vacation, working from home, right? I don't know, maybe even bringing your child or your dog to work. Seems like kind of a weird thing to bring up for self-advocacy, but it does, right? Anything that you want to be doing that falls under that category. So are there, so why is self-advocacy important? Does anybody want to give me some suggestions before they read that up on the screen? I know, I did it too late, you're already looking. So really the reason that self-advocacy is important is because it does help you to be able to put your thoughts into an organized way so it can be delivered and be understood, hopefully accepted, right? So self-advocacy is good for teams because I don't have all of the answers and all of my ideas aren't good, but that's a point of working in a team, right? So when you have teams and you have individual team members who feel really comfortable and feel like able to express their ideas, then that actually makes the team stronger, right? That's sort of the point of working with people as opposed to just working on your own. So self-advocacy increases workplace satisfaction and influence, right? So if you actually feel like you're being heard, you're happier, right? Like, who's had a manager who honestly didn't seem to care at all about your opinion? Can't just be me, right? I've had a lot of them, okay? So when you feel like you're being listened to, right? And the best way to be listened to is to make sure that when you're talking, that you're actually talking about things in a way that people can accept and digest and like at least hear, right? They don't necessarily have to agree with you, but at least hear. Because everybody also knows that person on the team who does raise their hand too often and doesn't make any sense, right? Or like maybe brings up a point that's not related at all. Maybe not. Okay. Workplace satisfaction's increase, build better team workplace communication. Optics, this is one of those like unfortunate things that you have to think about, right? Optics are really important. Does anybody know what optics are, by the way? Because I recently learned. Perception, yeah, like outward impressions, right? Outward perceptions. So optics are things that you do that fall unfortunately under the category of like being political, right? I personally admit to sending emails from work at like 11 o'clock. Maybe I'll be at home working on a project and nobody actually knows that I'm doing that, but maybe like I'll send an email about something so somebody actually kind of does notice. Once in a while I work till 11 o'clock. I don't do it in a way that's crazy or showy or anything, but like I do actually want my manager and my team to know that I care about things and that I'm willing to put in the time, right? So self-advocacy is actually good for optics also, for anybody who wants to be a manager or anybody who wants to like lead teams, because the best way, the best qualities in a leader are people who are willing to like stand up and support themselves, people who are willing to support other people on the team, right? Those are the best managers, not the ones who are just kind of in it for the power and the money, but the ones who actually care about supporting their team, helping them grow, right? So sort of modeling good behavior and supporting yourself is great modeling, great behavior to be modeled, right? Okay. And then demonstrating a desire to advance. That's right. Just if you want the promotion, you have to ask for it. You can't just assume that everybody's gonna like just know, oh hey, she looks like she wants a promotion, or hey, he looks like he wants some more money. Nobody's ever gonna say that to you, right? No one's ever gonna say, hey, today, just gonna give you an extra title, give you some extra vacation, and how about some more money? And if that is your situation, I'd like to work at your company, so you should pull me aside after.
What's an IC?
Individual contributor. I thought that was the one acronym I could get away without explaining in this group. I'm so sorry, that was my mistake. Yeah, individual contributor. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a break from my voice. This guy, his name is Simon Siniak, I always forget his name. He's going to talk about, well, I'll just let him speak for himself. Oops, no I won't.
There's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders.
I'm going to put my microphone here. Hopefully it's not going to turn.
As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way. And it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple.
Hey, has anybody seen Simon speak or read any of his books?